Hello everyone. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, depend on where you're joining from. And welcome to DevFest Ahlen 2025. DevFest, I'll remind you or notify if you don't know, is the world's largest community-driven tech conference powered by Google developer groups all around the world. Every year, it brings together thousands of developers, innovators, tech leaders, learners, just like you and me and all of us, to share knowledge, collaborate, build the future together. Our goal is to equip you with the tools and skills to build innovative, scalable, ethically sound applications, share technology driven future that benefits everyone. But before we dive in, I'd like to talk about what makes our community so special. This is super friendly and inclusive space, and we are all here to learn from and support one another. We ask that you keep all interactions respectful, please, only positive and professional. Our goal is to make sure everyone feels safe and comfortable participating, asking questions. But if something doesn't feel right, please don't hesitate. Let me know immediately. Just send me direct message. This event session will be recorded. Let's start from a special welcome video. Chai.
Hi everyone, welcome to DevFest. We're so glad you're here. AI progress is happening at warp speed, and we are starting to see its benefits for people, businesses, and science. It's this generation of developers that will crack open our most important problems. That's why we are working to put our latest breakthroughs, including our Gemini and Gemma models, directly in your hands. The opportunity space for developers is also expanding, freeing up more time to create, problem solve, and have fun. For example, vibe coding represents a new phase for building things into existence. I've been messing around with it, trying to build a custom web page with all the sources I want in one place, and I'm getting there. All to say it's an exciting time, and I can't wait to see what we will build together. Thanks, and I hope you enjoy the rest of DevFest.
So, and one more time, welcome everyone to the fest and please give a warm virtual welcome to Atuoha Anthony, who will represent on building at scale using Firebase and Firebase Studio. So please share your screen. Let's
Thank you
dive
so much.
deeper into these amazing tools. We use this every day.
Amazing, amazing. Okay, so I have my screen up.
Perfect.
Just a second. Okay, thank you so much for the warm welcome, Aaron. So what we are going to be talking about today is something that, first of all, I'm Atuoha Anthony. I'm a lead mobile engineer and a CTO at EV1 Health, and we're going to be talking about really about Firebase and Firebase Studio. So we're going to be having a topic that resonates with everybody, as this is the word of AI or the era of AI, where we now have AI first, not mobile first again. We're talking about building at scale with Firebase and Firebase Studio. And we're going to cover what Firebase is all about, how Firebase can help you build at scale, what Firebase offers. And also, we'll be talking about Firebase Studio, why you should jump right in into using Firebase Studio, the advantages it brings, and a whole lot of things around it. So let's dive right in. So first of all, we're going to be talking about Firebase, what Firebase is. So everybody knows about Firebase. Firebase is Google Client side app development toolkit or platform that is based on Google Cloud and Firebase, which integrates not just, it doesn't just stand alone, it works with other Google tools such as Analytics, Ad, and is built on Google infrastructure. So it's designed to scale from the get-go. And if we go to the next slide, we have that information about what it is in just a single line of sentence, being Google's app development platform. And Firebase is not just built for a particular platform. Firebase is built to support iOS, regardless of which platform you build on. Firebase supports a lot of different client-side app platforms. There are different client-side SDKs for iOS, for Swift, and Objective-C. So it supports iOS, it supports Android, Java, and Kotlin. So if you're coming from Kotlin or you're using Jetpack Compose, you know that Firebase actually supports your platform. And web also, web JavaScript, TypeScript as well, frameworks like Angular, React, Vue are also supported by Firebase. Firebase supports them to say, and this does not leave C++ behind. So if you are building things using C++, embedded systems, and all of that, C++ is also one of the platforms that has the support of Firebase. Okay, so another thing that we get to know is that it's not just all of these platforms that you can actually use Firebase to work on. You can also use Firebase when you are working with Unity for game developers. So it gives you that ability for you to actually use Firebase even when you're building games. The last but not the least is Flutter. So that is another cross-platform toolkit that is built by a cross-platform toolkit that is built by Google, which Firebase supports, which I'm heavily into, and which I hope a lot of communities are heavily into as well. And that's a very big channel of or series of platform that Firebase supports. Which, if you ask me, that's almost everything we can think of, like almost all the places that screens are on. So that's a whole lot of platforms. So we'll get into talking about Firebase having a suite of many products, and this product it has gives you the ability for you to work with the whole life cycle of your product. So from building the app to maintaining it, from from building it to making sure that the app stays good in production, that it stays healthy, keep on running, and it gives you that ability for you to keep on maintaining its maintainability. So the first thing is to build, then the next thing is to deploy, and then the next one is to make sure that you can actually keep on maintaining it, keep on deploying new features, building new features, solving bugs, fixing, patching, and fixing and releasing patches and releases and stuff like that. So Firebase comes shipped with two category of products, and the first one there is the build side of things. So it comes shipped with the build, and the build is more or less like development side of things. It's like giving you the ability or products that revolve around you building your app. So the next thing that comes in line is the authentication side. So the authentication, as we all know, that Firebase comes in line with or comes along with is an authentication which gives you or enables you to know a user's identity and to authenticate them into your app. Then we have database, that is Cloud Firestore written database, which are both non-SQL databases. And this gives you ability for you to store information. That is, if you are coming from web, you get to see things like MySQL, coming to see things like MongoDB, Atlas Map. You see things like a whole lot of AWS and a whole lot of database systems you can use. Firebase also comes alongside with this. And then we have Data Connect, which is like your SQL database. But the beautiful part of it is that it helps you with all of these data connection that you need to handle. So we'll not be diving much into it. So you can check this up on Firebase documentation to dive deep into them. I'm just going to introduce you to them and give you an insight on what Firebase offers. So another part of what Firebase offers on the product side is the cloud storage. And what cloud storage does is that it helps you to store big blocks of data, like your photo, like your video, like your audio content. And this gives us, from what we've covered, it gives us that insight that when you are using Firebase to build, you're not using Firebase to build and it's handling one part of what you need or the requirement of your application. It's giving you that full infrastructure that you need to build, to store, to scale, and to also maintain. And that's the big part of it. Then the next part of what we are working on or we're looking at is Firebase hosting. So we have the app hosting and then we have the normal hosting. So Firebase app hosting and hosting helps you to upload or deploy static and dynamic web apps. It gives you the ability for you to, just like Netlify or Vessel, it gives you the ability for you to host. So you're not just building, you can actually deploy as well. You don't need to build and then find another tool that you can use to deploy. You can build, maintain, and also deploy using Firebase app hosting and hosting, which is actually amazing. So you can build a web application with React and deploy it using Firebase, and it will give you a dynamic URL which you can actually which you can actually configure to use your domain that you've purchased and configure the DNS so that it can always move to that. And that's the amazing part of things. Another thing that we have here is the on the AI side. So we have Firebase ML, we have Jenkins, we have Firebase AI Logic Client SDKs, which gives you tools to incorporate AI capabilities into your app, and that's a deal breaker to me. It's a very is a not a deal breaker. Sorry, it's like what's the right word? It's like you having an extraordinary power or having like something more or less like having something. What I mean by deal breaker, I meant like you see when you are using other utilities or you're using other infrastructures, they have like things that they can do and have other things that they cannot do. But introducing Jenkins, introducing Firebase AI logic and ML is a deal breaker for me not to like dwell on the ones I know of instead of migrating to Firebase. So that's one of the reasons that using Firebase is something that when you are using it, you don't like have you don't like have limitations. That is one. You don't have constraints of what you can do when you're building. You don't have like things that you can say, hey, this can do this, but it can't handle this. This can do this, but it can't handle this. And the beautiful part of it is that Firebase keeps on bringing in new infrastructures that can actually help you with the full life cycle of building your app. So the next thing we have is cloud functions. And what cloud function does is that it helps you to run your backend code in response to events triggered by other Firebase products. So if you have Firebase products, like you can have your like your cloud storage, you can have like your authentication or anything, and then you want that any action coming from this to trigger a backend code you've written, you use cloud functions. It's just like from the word cloud and then a function you've written, just like a backend code you've written that is triggered to response to event triggered by this other product you're using, which is actually amazing if you ask me. Then we have another thing on the build side, which is app check. So app check is on the protection side. So app check helps to protect your API resource from abuse. So you can be building an app and you want to make sure that you're preventing unauthorized clients from accessing your backend resource. What do you get to use? You use app check. It gives you the ability for you to protect your API resources, and that is a good deal. Then we have extensions. So extensions help you deploy functionality into your app quickly with prepackaged solutions. So we have a whole lot of tutorials on extensions and a whole lot of documentations on extension. So the only thing you have to have in mind is that when I'm using Firebase, I can make use of extensions, which help me deploy functionality into my app quickly with prepackaged solutions with things that are already existing that somebody else have written, or libraries or solutions. That's the right word. That somebody that is already existing. So we have a lot of extensions in Firebase, and your app can actually be needing a functionality. You don't need to get to do all of that yourself. You can actually use a prepackaged solution from extensions and make use of it. Then on the next side of things is that after your app is being built and deployed, you need to make sure that your app is running smoothly and delivers the most experience to your users. And that is actually where the run part of things comes in. So you've built, you've done all of this. You want to make sure that the users keep on getting that experience, keep on getting that smooth delivery and experience. That's where the first thing we are going to talk about the Crashlytics, the performance, the Google Analytics. What they do is that from the first one, the Crashlytics, if bug arises, you can actually even before bug arises. So if somebody downloaded your app and then this app they've downloaded, maybe on a particular screen, let's say on the profile screen, there's an error, or they try to upload their picture and then it didn't go. It gave them an error screen. You don't get to wait for even someone to report that bug or come to Play Store or App Store and drop a bad review. Automatically, you get that bug or that report sent through Crashlytics to you, and then you get to see it. You don't just get to see what happened, you get to see the screen that caused it, even possibly see the line of code that caused it, the section of the app that actually caused it. You get to have an insight on bugs, even without somebody dropping a review. So the only thing that you might not get to see is you even get to see the device. There's a lot of insights on it. You get to see device, you get to even see a whole lot of things, a whole lot of insight on what caused that issue, and then you can promptly start working on it. And that's amazing if you ask me. So we have Google Analytics. Google Analytics gives you that ability. We have Google Analytics already, but Google Analytics is, as I mentioned, Firebase does not work on its own. It works with existing Google products. So Google Analytics is inside Firebase, or Firebase makes use of it to give you an insight on where your users are from, the devices they are on, the location they are on. So when you ship an MVP of a product you're building, you get to see, hey, my product is being used by most people in North America, and they are mainly used by people using Samsung or people using this particular Android version. You get to have an insight. And then this insight lets you know about your users and where they are coming from, or the people that are using your phone. And it also gives you an ability for you to know how many people are logged in or are active in your app at the instant or previous times, and it helps you with making plans, making feature plans for ads and locations to make ads on. So if you deploy an MVP and then you check it out and you notice that, hey, my app is actually performing very well in North America, but people in Toronto, they are not downloading it. They are not actually using it. Or people in British Columbia, they are not actually using it. People in this side, they're not. So you know where your audience is. That is one. But you get to know where else you need to channel your ads to. You need to know your audience where you need to you need to know the audience, or let's say the region where you need to advertise more on. So that's a very good insight. Then we have performance monitoring. What performance monitoring is the same thing, is it gives you the ability for you to actually monitor your performance from the word there. So with performance monitoring and a whole lot of it, performance monitoring with Crashlytics and Analytics, you can make sure that your app is giving that smooth experience to users. And another thing we have here is the test lab. So the test lab is used to test fixes. So if you build your app or you're building your app and you want to make sure that you test on different types of devices and know if they have any underlying errors or anything that and somebody cannot catch immediately, you use test lab, and it gives you the ability for you to test on different devices. So just more or less like when you are building your app on using Android Studio or using Xcode, and you have a lot of all of these devices that you're testing on, that can get tedious. But with Firebase, you can actually use test lab and test test most of your functionalities or all of your functionalities using different devices, and that's really amazing. One other part of the run side of Firebase is app distribution. So app distribution is like something that changed a whole lot of things, or changed how I personally distribute apps to QA or distribute apps to shareholders. So literally in the past, every person or most people before the whole CI/CD started and all of that, we used to send APKs to WhatsApp. I know a whole lot of us used to do it. I used to do it. And you bundle APK, you send it to WhatsApp group, the QA picks it up, or you send it to Slack where you do file sharing channel and all of that. The QA picks it up, and then even if you're doing any CI/CD, you're running any CI/CD or any job, you still build and ship and all of that. Even maybe possibly during weekends, when QA reach out to you on a weekend, on a Saturday, and they'll be like, can you send me this and all of that? You build a PK and you send immediately to WhatsApp, or you send to anywhere, or Slack, or all of that. The advantage is that Firebase is changing how those things work. It has a product or an infrastructure that helps you to distribute your app to testers, internal or external. Just see it as close testing. When you're deploying your app to Play Store, you get to decide or choose people that are going to close test your app. So before that happens, you have to first of all go through that whole process of you have done with your app, you are shipping out, and then you're doing close testing. What about when you are not in your app and you're still in the process? You are still doing it. Like you're still in the process of building your app. The continuous debugging and all of that, sharing APKs and stuff. So that's where app testing, that's where app distribution comes. So you can bundle your APK or your IPA and push it out to Firebase app distribution. Select, you can create a team of testers, a group of testers, or you can enter their email addresses, they like confirm that they want to test your app, and then you push the APK there, they confirm it. Anytime you push a new APK, you can add notes, you can even automatically test it, you can run it. So the new changes that are coming into app distribution is giving you automatic testing where you can test your app using Firebase, and it automatically test it, even give you screenshots of video of those testing. automatically. So you can test it and do a whole lot of stuff with it. I just used it this morning actually, and it's super amazing. So you can select your group of people that are going to test your app. You upload your APK, they get an email, they download it, they download an app, which assuming my Android phone is closed, I would have opened it. But it's an app that is not on Play Store. So immediately you are being given permission to test an app, you automatically download it. It's called app tester or thereabouts. Yes, I guess so. So it's called app tester. You download it, you authenticate, and then anytime a new build comes in, you get to download it there, test it, and that's it. No need for back and forth WhatsApp downloading and all of that. Downloading APK through WhatsApp and downloading it through Slack into your system, then send it to your phone to install and stuff like that. You do it right on the phone, and that's amazing. And it's the way Android system is being built in the sense that it deletes or it updates the app version, removing the old one. That's like a smooth process for me, if you ask me. Then we have another part of things which you know that is something that we all use, which is cloud messaging. So cloud messaging can be used for a whole lot of things. It can be used for sending notifications. It can be used to remind even users of purchases and events, which is amazing. So that's what Firebase is offering as well. So we have A/B testing. A/B testing is used to test for changes before rolling it out to the users. So you can have like things you've worked on or features you've built, and you want to make sure that they are thoroughly tested, or you want to make sure that this change you are rolling out is being tested first before it is rolled out to users, then A/B testing is what you can make use of. Then the last but not the least is remote config. So remote config gives you two advantages. It gives you two things. So I use it for two things. The first one is that you can use remote config for configuring serving. You can use it to configure a method for you to serve different user experiences to different kinds of users based on their user properties without needing to ask your user to download a new version of your app. That is one thing you can use it to do. That is one. The next thing you can use remote config to do that I've used it in the past to do is I remember one time that I was just a minute, I'm getting a call here. Just a second. So I can remember one time that I was trying to work with EMV, environment variables, and I just wanted to use Firebase. I just wanted to store it using Firebase. I actually use remote config to store the environment variables there, retrieve it there, and be able to make use of secrets and stuff using remote config with Flutter secure storage, and then do a whole lot of stuff. Even I still use it most times, even now. So you can actually use it for that as well. But the main essence or the main use case is what I mentioned, using it to serve different kinds of apps to different kinds of users based on their properties and all of that. Then we have that covers what we have in Firebase. I know there's a lot. I didn't dive more deep into what they covered, each of them. But the truth of the matter is for you to have like a glimpse of what they can offer and then go get started with it. So we're going to talk about Firebase Studio. So Firebase Studio is something that everybody's talking about, everybody's using. Some people are shying away from it. Some people are feeling like, hey, it's still in test mode. Hey, it's still experimental. But the beautiful part of it is that a whole lot of us, myself included, are using Firebase to ship out products every single now and then. So Firebase Studio is something that we can use to build quality full stack AI apps quickly. And it gives you that ability for you to work with Firebase. So imagine working with something that is awesome, like lovable, but you don't just get to work with it alone. You get to work with it and have the ability to work with Firebase, something that integrates Firebase in its core. That means everything we discussed in Firebase is inside Firebase Studio. It ships inside it. And that's amazing if you ask me. So Firebase Studio is an integrated and extensible agentic workspace that is used to build, run, and manage web applications across not just web application, even cross-platform mobile apps, backend services, and more. And it gives you that ability for you to work with Firebase on its core, and then work with Gemini, which is what everybody knows is very powerful. So you're going to be working with Gemini and working with Firebase, which gives you that ability for you not just to work with a single platform. So imagine all the whole platform Firebase supports, and then you have this ability for you to use Firebase Studio to work with all of these platforms. So we are looking at a whole lot of technologies out there. We are looking at React Native. We are looking at Vue.js. We are looking at PHP. We are looking at Flutter. We are looking at Next.js, Node.js, Rust, Laravel. Every single product, framework, language, or a whole lot of things can actually be can have like a starting point for both front end, back end, or mobile or more. Can be used. Firebase can be used to make the process of building, deploying, and that having that life cycle of using them more better, which is very amazing. Then we have something that I wrote, being Firebase being like a professional tool. And I pictured it as like having a super body in your mind, like beside you. We have Copilot, we have Gemini Code Assist, we have a whole lot of stuff out there. Firebase Studio is like you having superpowers in a way. So it's like giving you that ability for you to go through that building process faster. So when before AI, a whole lot of innovators or people that build startups and all of that used to go through process of thinking about cost, thinking about infrastructure, cost of API, cost of security, cost of maintaining, and all of that. And when all of these AI utilities start coming in, the stress went down, and that is actually the beautiful part of what Firebase is solving. We have a whole lot of changes throughout the years of our development, and all of these changes are changes that has changed how everybody build apps, and that is what Firebase is coming into place. Firebase Studio is coming into places to solve. The first challenge that everybody knows about is that app development has gotten somewhat difficult because of the whole process of building. It is time consuming. That is the simple truth. You can have an idea of building an app, and then this idea you have of building an app, you have like um, time frame that you've given 3 months, 6 months to build an MVP. I don't know if you've heard about this in Y Combinator. They are like you need to ship your products in the next 3 months or even in the next 2 weeks and all of that. But as easy as it sounds, most of the times it's not that executable. Most of the times, depending on what you're building. So when you're building something that you are, let's say you're building a fintech product, or let's say health, because I've been in health for a very long time. Health is not just like a straightforward process. It's something that when you're working on it, you need to be conscious of regulations, standards, and a whole lot of things that comes with health. So you don't just ship your product. You can ship your product, and after the product goes live, a user can use it, and then the next you're seeing is law case. They can actually sue you because of practices you did not use, which is actually funny. And a whole lot of people go through that process of not solving or answering these questions. They go through the process of testing. You can, like, I remember one time I was working with FIHR, that is Fast Healthcare Interoperability Resource, and then I wanted to use Flutter on it. I looked throughout all documentation I can find online. I didn't see anything. I had to start doing something I've not done throughout my entire career. I did it. I'll put it there. It will not work. I'll remove it. I did it for 2 weeks till it worked. And that delayed deploying what we built for 2 weeks because I did not see any documentation on it whatsoever. That was crazy. So we have that full complexity life cycle of software development life cycle, that life cycle that is there. And we have a whole lot of things that is there. We have from coding to building to testing to releasing to monitor to operate. That gives you like a full life cycle. Building a product is not just writing the code. That's the first part. You need to test it. You need to release it. You need to monitor it. And one thing that you get to understand is that could be heartbreaks in some points. That could be problems in some points. And that's something you need to factor in even when you are building a product. And that's one of the things Firebase is trying to solve. And that is the changes we've had. One of the changes we've had. We know that when you are not, a lot of people that are using AI now know that this whole thing that we're talking about is actually true. So it is true if you are not just a professional developer, if you are somebody who uses who have been using utilities in the past, or who have tried building a product, or who has worked in any company, or who has even tried to do anything. Imagine the amazing things Gemini is doing with Google Workspace tools and all of that, Gmail, Excel, and all of that, spreadsheets, and all of those automations. A lot of people are finding it extremely amazing what they could achieve, and it's actually one of the changes as well. And you know that when you're building a product, there's a whole lot of questions you need to answer, which I was talking about before. There's a whole lot of complexities you need to wrinkle your head towards answering, and that could go as more as little as answering what your technology stack is. When you're building a product, you get to ask yourself, which technology stacks are we going to use to make this stronger? Are we going to use Java for the back end? Are we going to be using Rust? Is Rust more secured? Is Java more secured? these people are using Java, these people are using Rust. Which one should we use? Should we go hire Java developers, or should we use Rust, or should we use this? That's why you see a lot of people building a startup or building a product. They will start with a particular product, build it for like 3 months, feel like they might hear something online, and they feel like, hey, this is not actually secure. They might get they might hear something about a bypass or a hack that happened. They will enter fight or flight mode, where they get to start digging the technologies that were used. They'll figure out that, hey, this product was built in Node.js, and they'll be like, no, I will use Node.js. These people did this, these people did that. And that's the question that people get their head into. And that thing is dependencies. What are they depending on? And that thing is what they are building. Is it secure? Is it scalable? Is it performance? What they are building, is it giving them that ability for them to know that they are going to strive on a longer run? And the questions can get so big, and a whole lot of answers, a whole lot of questions and answers and questions that are unanswered. And this can get extremely overwhelming at every point. You can have this can cause you this can make you enter a state where you'll be totally confused. You've spent the last 2 weeks, let's say this weekend, if you want to build the next cross-border fintech products where you can actually send money from, let's say, from the UK or the whole of Europe. You can actually send, or you can convert from, you can communicate or transact to somebody who is in the UK across everybody that is using euro in Europe. And you're building this, you've sat down, you started handling, what can I use, what can I do, all of that. And this can take you the whole of today without even answering the question. Even when you think you've gotten it, you can just hear something, what Revolut has done or what Wise has done. You go back, you start asking yourself, what are the API requirements? How is Revolut doing all of this? And that can actually give you a state of confusion. Not like if you are confused, but you're overwhelmed with all of these questions. And that's something. The next thing is that it doesn't just give you the questions, it gives you processes which can actually cause you to feel extremely overwhelmed at every point of the development. So even if when you get started, coding is not just all about plugin. What's the right word? When you're working with something like Canva, you bring a template, you put the picture, everything is structured that way, and it looks so amazing. It takes time. It takes time to build something that is scalable. It takes time to be something that is secured. It takes time to be something that can be maintained over time. And that process alone takes time. Then the next part is the building part of it. Things you can build and try to get through that process of building it and all of that. You figure out that, hey, this you're building is actually the app you've built, you spend time to build, is actually the app size is bigger. Nobody wants to download an app that is 40 MB. That's big. Even games are way lesser. Then they start downloading resources across the way, and then you move to testing. In testing part of things, you can have QA going through testing for 3 weeks, 1 month, 2 months, and all of that. Trying to automate, trying to mock users, trying to. I can remember my experiences in fintech and bank, where we want to surge users. We want to make sure that we want to surge or experiment where 100 100 users are signing up at the same time to see how the network is, to see how fast it can respond to all of them. We want to check when a user is not on 5G, a user is in an environment where the network is very low. You can try to do that and figure out that, hey, this only works for people, this only works very well when the internet is extremely fast. And users are not always in an environment where the internet is fast, or they might not always be in an environment where the internet is fast. And then that whole life cycle can take you back even to building things that you know that you have to go back to. That is the life cycle of development at every point, including the release. People spend time, 3 weeks, 1 month, going through Play Store reviews, going through a whole lot of stuff. Most people even do it to the point where their app is actually banned in a way, where they have to start sending queries, sending emails and stuff, and then they'll come back again, choosing categories, choosing all of that. And at the end of the day, the app will be released, and then they enter the monitoring stage, monitoring users and stuff. The whole process takes time. That's why a whole lot of people feel scared or feel overwhelmed when they're building a product. If truly you want to build a product where the users can actually use it, and that's your main goal, the next question is that, or the next change is that software development is becoming more decentralized and collaborative. And this is having people in different locations, working with different time zones, working with different devices, and at the same time. Before, it used to be where people get to work in an office, and the devices we use are things we are known in the old, or will I say previously, people used to work in the office and everybody is just there. You get to see and all of that. But now this has changed. Development is decentralized. You can be working with your colleague who is in Japan this week. The next week is in Australia, different time zone. He's not coding with his Mac, he's coding with his tablet, he's doing all of that. And he's not actually working from home. He's in the cafe, he's in his house, he's in a hub, he's coding from the hub. And the beautiful part of it is that, or to add more color to this situation, we now collaborate closely with other people. That's another thing, each of whom could be working on the same project with different locations, different devices, and even on a different time zone. And that is your developer or your colleague making changes to projects using a different time zone. So you can be working with somebody who is, so currently it is 1540 where I am. You can have somebody who works in Canada, where we have 4 hours time difference or 6 hours time difference, depending on where they are. And that would be me starting work by 9 and having the person start work by 4:30 a.m. So I don't believe somebody can wake up by 4:30 a.m. in order to work with you by 9 a.m. That's a different time zone. And that will be not making him sleep the way he's meant to sleep. That's a very different thing. And a lot of people face this. And it's something that is actually something that we need to always consider. And the next part of it is that AI assistants and powerful LLMs are completely changing how we build apps. Literally, like a whole lot of people now know that there's the bug that needs to be fixed, and then the product manager will give you a task to fix this bug. They believe that at every point in time that you know what you're doing because you went through live coding. Goodness me, you scale through. So we believe that no matter the kind of bug we give you, you shouldn't spend more than 1 week fixing a bug. So I've worked in a company where in the agile methodology we are using Jira, if you have a blocker, something that is, let's say you push a code and then the code you've pushed is a bug raised by a QA, you need to, if it is blocking another person, you need to prioritize it and solve it. And then everybody knows about sprint points or sprint. The sprint can cover 1 week or 2 weeks, and that 1 week is based on, or 2 weeks is based on the feature that is meant to be deployed by the end of the sprint. And that affect deliverables by the product owner or the product manager, and they give you a bug, something you've worked on, and then you've tried doing it, you didn't get it, you try using a package, you didn't get it. That is changing exactly why people are actually using AI assistants, ChatGPT, Gemini, Copilot, Gemini Code Assist, and a lot of that, so that they can actually solve that problem. And that is not actually bad if you ask me. So it's changing exactly how we build apps. And then a lot of people want to build an app and they don't want to spend so much money hiring developers. They want to experiment on it. Make sure this is actually solving a problem. They can build something that they can be using at home. And then, hey, my neighbor wants to use it. And then, hey, somebody else wants to use it. They can actually build it faster, experiment with it, have people test it, and then they can now grow it from it. And that's something that's happening. And if you look at how it has been, this visualization that we have here really drives some two extreme workflows. You, me, our teams are likely adopting when building apps. One, on one end, you have a HUD where we are in the driver's seat, and the AI plays purely like you are in the driver's seat. Then the AI is doing a whole lot of things, doing the pure assistance and all of that. And then the other end, you have a world where the AI is doing almost every of the heavy lifting. So that's another thing. There are a whole lot of developers out there that want to build an app, and then they want to build an app where they give a prompt to an AI assistant, maybe Gemini or anything, or Google AI Studio. Then Google AI Studio runs this command, give them what they want, they accept it, make the changes, do all of that. Voila, they've shipped it. And that's amazing. Then we have some other people that want to be in the driver's seat and be telling AI, they have this code base, it has this error, they want to give the AI to check the changes and all of that, make the corrections. There are a lot of ways a lot of people are using AI. And then it has this experiment by 2028 that 70% of enterprise software engineers will use AI code assistants. So a lot of people, I think, even before 2028, a lot of people are actually using AI assistants, even till now. I use it personally. and that's a very big thing. So we have like a statement made by Sundar Pichai, who said that today more than a quarter of all new code at Google is generated by AI, then reviewed and accepted by engineers. This helps our engineers do more and move more and move more faster. So you get to ship product faster. So I'll give you a live scenario. There was a contract I did for 3 months, and then during my interview process, the the person that was interviewing asked me a simple question. She asked me, "How good am I with using AI?" And then I told her, "Yes, I'm good at using AI." Then she mentioned that if I want to build a feature, how fast can I build it? Using as in she knows that when I'm writing maybe a logic or a backend code, it will take time. But she's asking me, with the help of AI and the way things are evolving, how fast can I do this? That was a very, very important question that she asked. And that actually brought me closer to getting the job or getting the contract to say. That was actually a deciding factor. So people, a lot of shareholders and a lot of people know that AI is helping people to build faster. And adopting it is not actually a bad idea. So AI is good when, as is said here, you give it a prompt, it gives you the code, you review it, give the changes or make the changes you want to make, contradict things, look from the inner side of things, that the inner experiences you've had as a developer, you review it and then you accept it. Or you rewrite it yourself, but it has given you a glimpse. It has given you a whole lot of ability for you to do what you want to do faster. Just like all of these MCP servers on building Flutter applications of Figma designs faster using MCP servers or using Builder.io, which I'm going to talk about at the end of the section as well. So we have where we want to make sure that when we are using Firebase Studio, we don't want to just sit out there. We want to give ourselves ability for us to not just allow the AI to just be the driver and then we are there sitting. We want to post sometimes be the driver and have the AI assisting us, or sometimes we want to AI be the driver where we'll be giving it instructions on what we want. And that gives us the the two options we have and we can switch from, which is the AI centric view. The AI centric view gives you that ability for you to do a whole lot of stuff relating to you, just like you chatting with Gemini. It gives you what it wants, and then you contradict it or you give it more new requirements and stuff. And then we have the code-centric view. The code-centric view allows you to dive into the code. It gives you a VM where you get to write the code, feel like a developer, even though you feel like a developer on the AI-centric view, more or less like you are in a familiar territory or stuff. You are seeing that view that looks like VS Code for you, and you get to make these changes in real time. So we have Firebase in action. So we get to see Firebase in action. So there are main two modes that you can start from in the side of AI Studio. The IDE view, which we are familiar with, which is more or less like the same IDE from IDX. And the second one is now the new API prototyping agent. So this is AI Studio in action. So what we are doing here is that with this new app prototyping agent, we can build a full stack application from giving it a simple instruction. We put in a PROD. It gives us exactly what it wants. And voila, it gives you the app that you want. And you get to see all of these, make changes, see everything that is what is happening, make corrections, and then you have your app just right there. You have your app working, and because you are making use of, because Gemini is there, you have a whole lot of ability to use Gemini from the get-go. That's amazing. So you're actually doing image recognition or drawing recognition. And what we need to understand also is that because we are using Firebase, and one of the products we mentioned in Firebase is the Firebase hosting, you can easily deploy your app. So you have this ability for you to share your app immediately you're done with it. You can make changes, roll out new releases, new patches, and stuff, and it will go straight and publish using Firebase app hosting. And that is actually a very good fit. So you don't have to like install it, download it, and do all of that, extract it, go to cPanel, buy all of that, and so it saves you that whole process, which is great. Then the next thing we have here is the fact that Firebase doesn't just work with new Firebase Studio doesn't just work with new projects. It can actually support existing code bases, and it gives you the ability for you to make use of links. So any stack can be stored using Nix, which gives you 120 packages. So for Firebase Studio, it supports the IDE view, which lets you bring existing code bases with with any stock that can be configured via the Nix ecosystem. For those that are not aware of what Nix is one of probably one of the most supported package ecosystem in the Linux world. So there are probably a few packages that meet your specific dependency needs, and Nix can actually give you the ability for you to support almost your for you to have supported package ecosystem. Then we have, as of now, what the API Firebase Studio has, that's the ability for you to have Gemini 2.5, improved UI generation, Figma imports. So, and the Figma import is where I want to talk about Builder.io. So, Builder.io is doing something on another level, which something that was done by, I've forgotten his name, a contributor, an open source contributor, that built something on Flutter MCP server, where you can actually Figma MCP server, where you can actually import, utilize the MCP server to bring in code bases, asset and stuff from Figma directly to Flutter code. That's exactly what Builder.io is doing. Builder.io is giving you ability for you to install a Figma plugin, which is Builder.io, and have this builder and have this extension capture a particular screen that you have and bring it into your IDE, bring the code generated into your IDE and stuff. And that's very amazing. And Firebase Studio is not just for building UI. It also works for backend integration and improve Figma support. So I'm going to give you like an overview. So literally in May, in early May, when 2.5 was incorporated to Firebase Studio, so it was used to generate complex app with a more sophisticated UI. Then backend integration to Firebase Studio, auth, and all of that was added. The prototyper will understand your app needs, who understand that your app needs a backend or authentication and all of that. It gets to so the full point of thing is that when you are working with Firebase Studio and you have a whole lot of things that you want to work with, it understands that what you're working on needs authentication, it needs backend, you need to deploy, and it's built to support all of that, not just for you to replicate a UI or for you to build a static React application or web application that's just one page. No, it's built to support every process of your building, which is great and awesome. So we have support from Builder.io, which gives you an amazing ability for you to bring in your Flutter images and your Flutter design to real code. You can check out Builder.io, so you can read more about it. They have these code labs and code sections, core sections they've been doing since, I think, since this year, since they were announced in Google I/O this year. They've been doing, I've joined one of the sections, and the sections are amazing. They get to teach you how you can actually work with this and all of that. Then you can check Firebase Studio and things people have been building with Firebase Studio. A lot of people have been building amazing stuff with Firebase Studio, not just on the experimental side. You can check the link here, which is bit.ly/Firebase studio project showcase to see what everyone is building. And with the same link, you can also ship out what you build. Maybe after this call, you can build something that you have in mind. And that's the amazing thing and the amazing idea behind Firebase Studio, which is to give you that small time to go from thinking to building to deploying. Thank you so much for listening. And you can find me on LinkedIn. I'm very active on LinkedIn. That's the only place I'm active on. So you can find me on LinkedIn using the name Atuoha Anthony. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you, Atuoha, for that excellent start. And feel free to join and collaborate, even asking questions. Believe me, he is super supportive. And so you support our community